No, I notice how defensive Caucasians get whenever there's a situation where a black person is done wrong or treated illy by a white person. They be the first to say,
"It had nothing to do with race. Stop playing the freaking race card."
well, guess what? I'm about to play the race card and I'm gonna win this card game. Most white folks think that racism is limited to only two things: hate crimes and hate speech. Although, many times an actual hate crime won't even be acknowledged as a hate crime because of the absence of racial slurs or hate speech. America needs a white person to say this:
"Hey, how's it going, you little nigger? I'm about to blow your brains out because you're black,"
in order for his actions to be treated as a hate crime. As if a reputation holding white person who doesn't want to lose his job, who doesn't want to lose his police pension and all those things, is just gonna blatantly give himself away like that. But newsflash, I'm here to say that hate speech and hate crimes are not the only form of racism that black folks deal with out there. Slavery was without a doubt the most racist time period that ever existed here in America. The reason why is because white people were allowed to do whatever the heck they wanted with our bodies. Many of our people were raped, beaten, sexually assaulted, shot, killed, hung, lynched. Our babies fed to alligators, etc. But what if I told you that there was a population of slave masters back then who weren't doing any of those things to our people? They were very nice to their slaves, but they still felt superior to them. They felt as though they were better than black people, and they didn't pay black people for their work that they were doing for free. Look at the situation with Kizzy and Roots. When she disobeyed her master once, she was sold and separated from her family. Not because the master was just so full of hate and malice and just a strong desire to torture and inflict violence against black people, but the simple fact that he viewed Kizzy as disposable. From Kizzy's father, Kunta Kinte's perspective, Massa wasn't that type of man. For all the 40 years that they worked for him, he seemed like he was a nice, sweet, kind master. Yet he still viewed the black family as disposable. He literally thought very little of Kizzy and her family, which is why he compared Kizzy to a bad fruit that needs to be disposed of, because she was upsetting the peace. He didn't care how his actions affected the lives of black people. But guess what? In today's terms, he didn't commit no hate crimes. He was just a white man of his time period. He literally told Kunta Kinte and his wife that he viewed them as family, yet he was still willing to break up their family. You peep what I'm saying? Not all racism is neo-Nazi flags and KKK robes and burning crosses with lynched niggers from trees. Racism is a lot more intricate than that. It's a heart problem, and it has levels and stages. It's kind of like a injury. You might have somebody who might sprain their leg, but then you also have the person who completely fractured their entire leg. They got to get a freaking rehabilitation, otherwise their leg is going to be useless. Like, there's stages to this. That doesn't mean that any of this stuff feels good, though. I mean, who's going to line up and say, you know, they're charging people to sprain their legs or fracture their legs? Yeah, no, I don't want none of it. Funny thing is, I think back to when that forklift driver lied on me a few months ago at my job, saying that I hit him with my tug vehicle even though I was parked and he was the one moving. And I still see him around there all the time. And he doesn't seem like he wants to string a nigger up from a tree, or like he wants to shoot somebody while calling them the N-word, or like he wants to burn a cross in somebody's backyard. He doesn't seem like he has hatred just bubbling over in the form of Caucasian rage against black people 24/7. But he still has ways. Those ways cause him to feel entitled to lie on the new black guy in order to save his own arse. The fact that there are so many racial disparities in this country called America, whether it be social, political, economic, levels of inhumane treatment, imprisonment, injustice, and the overall rate of lives that are taken from our side of the fence versus the amount of white lives taken by black people, says it all. The fact that we're black in this country has always been a determining factor in the way that we're treated here. If I was a white tug driver, that forklift driver would have just simply looked back at me and been like, "Oh, my bad, man, I didn't see you there." He saw that I was a young black man, and them lies came spilling forth like freaking cancer. And because I'm a black guy, all those supervisors sided with him immediately. Some of them weren't even there, but they lied and said they saw it too. Racism is not limited to being hung from a tree while being called a racial slur. It's all the subtle things that you keep doing. It's making the lives of black people harder and more stressful than they need to be. It's the fact that 9 times out of 10, if there's a black guy and a white guy looking for a job, the white guy is going to probably be the first one to get hired, despite the fact that the black guy was way more qualified for the job than him. And guess what? I bet you burning up in your soul talking about, "Yo, I got black friends." There are people with pet bugs. I'm sure their cute little pet bugs have not been able to convince their owner successfully to stop associating himself with that one friend of his that hates bugs. You don't care how your actions affect the life of a beetle. If you decide to have a shed built over a beetle colony, you're gonna go on with your life like all is well. Gentrifying insect colonies. You're not gonna give a damn about the colony that you just displaced containing whole beetle families and beetle babies. If one of your friends decide to take a magnifying glass and use the sun to burn beetles for his own entertainment, you're not gonna disassociate yourself from that friend of yours for his insensitivity and his lack of empathy towards the beetle race. They're just beetles. It's not that you want to do hate crimes to beetles and like you're just so full of pure hatred for the beetle race and like you just want to be a gas chamber neo-Nazi beetle killing machine. But it's just the fact that you really don't care. You're indifferent. Guess what? You, my friend, and every other human out there, including myself, are bug racist. Beetles, ants, bumblebees, flies, mosquitoes, and whatever else out there can feel the racism emanating from human beings that basically think that they can do whatever the heck they want. While the bugs, they're the ones that get the short end of the stick. It's the same way y'all treat us. And that's the racism that goes overlooked. That's the racism that black people feel in their day-to-day life. But they have a hard time pinpointing and identifying it. Now go ahead and try to argue with me on this.